Hey viewers, welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be doing something different. It's fall season. I was lucky enough to get a 7-point buck, and we're going to be doing a European mount. I'm going to quickly go through the cutting to remove flesh and the hide from the head, remove the jaw, and we'll finish up by mounting on a plaque that I made. So let's get started. Well, to start the process, you're going to want to have some sharp knives available. I have a utility cutter that I installed a hook blade in, and that's useful to split the hide open. And then I'm using a fillet knife to go down the bridge of the nose and work the skin off the nose and around the brow of the eye. And then splitting the hide and working it off from around the base of the antlers. As I work my way around to the back ears, I can slice those off and get back to the back of the neck. Keep working that area. Depending on how you sawed the neck from the head, you may have some extra vertebrae to remove back there. So just get your knife in there and work to get that last vertebrae removed. Working around the second ear, getting that detached, and the second eye. And some people will boil their heads and not remove the eye, but you'll see that I will be working on that eye to get it removed, and shortly working on the jaw portion. So while we're working on the skinning, we're going to get this started. We're going to add our pot of water, and into that pot I have a bag of sodium carbonate, and by volume that might be 1/3 of a cup or so, I'm not quite sure. And 1/2 cup of Dawn dish detergent. So we'll let that warm up and we'll continue with our defleshing. Okay, we're back to working on the head. Just trying to remove as much flesh as possible, but not worrying about the tongue as an example. But I need to get up in there and work on getting that jaw detached. Working on getting that jaw out was one of the more difficult parts of this process. A lot of connective tissue up in there. Now, if you're real strong, you might be able to just pull that apart, but I wasn't. Getting the eyeballs out was rather difficult. There's a lot of tough tissue in there, and if you don't have a really sharp knife, I found that it was very difficult to get that cut. So you might just want to boil it, and boiling it will make it much easier to remove that. So now we have the jaw. Okay, so in we go. And because my pot's a little wider than the antlers, just going to put a stick here. I think I'm going to tie these up so that just the base of the antler is above the water. And then we're going to work on getting a pressure washer ready. Let this simmer 3 to 5 hours. We'll give it a check and see what it looks like. It's been a little over 2 hours, and I did check and I saw that two bones here had fallen off. So we're going to pull this out and see what we can dig out from here. Just using some needle nose pliers to get in here. See, part of that side bone is kind of broken off. That's pretty mushy, and those are loose too. I think what I'm going to do is hit this with the pressure washer. And we'll go from there. Now be careful what kind of tip you use on your sprayer, because it could be too powerful and destroy your bone. Okay, we have these ear canals here. Go ahead and pop them off. And give that more of a wash. So I want to pour this out and see if I can find those two little front bones. And that would be these pieces. We'll glue them back in later. So let's get the thing prepared for drying. So what I'm going to do now is go around this. I have some old dental picks, and I'm going to look for dark areas that I can get into and pick out any flesh that the pressure washer didn't take off. Like right here at the base of the antler. I can scrape that off. So with your deer, just go around and try to clean it up the best that you can. To keep this together while it's drying, I'm just going to apply some tape. Some people use rubber bands, whatever you have handy. We'll let that dry for a while before we think about any whitening that we might want to do. So we have a few loose teeth. So I'm going to apply some super glue to that area. get them to stick in there. Like some activator. See if that helps. It's kind of a big void on this side. There was a strange tooth. The tooth that was in here looked almost kind of rotten. There's not much of a root system on it. Just stick that in there. Apply some more super glue and some activator. Got a loose tooth there. Kind of flood that area. Shoot it with some activator. Now we're going to turn this over. Take a look at the top. So that has joined together nicely. I might tell you that using the pressure washer really blasted out a lot of the sinus cavity. I may not do that again, but I have some nose bones here that we have to reattach. So this is kind of a delicate area here. Just adding some glue along this side. That's where that goes. Put a dab down in here. Hit that with some activator. And we'll work over on this side. I noticed these little bones here on the bottom, they kind of warped when I tried to push that first one over. It broke off, so we'll see if we can't get that to reattach. This is really a tough place to try to attach this bone. Really no really good way to hold it. I'm just going to try to put some glue on there. That's what I was afraid would happen. Get glue on my fingers and then get stuck. Let's try this again. Well, let me work on that with, we'll see what happens. All right, I've laid a piece of tape on there. We'll see if that helps. Now in the past I've mounted these heads with the teeth directly against the plate, and I'm going to try something different. This time it'll be more like if you had a flesh type mount. What I'm going to do is create a bracket that goes in here, made from a piece of scrap from this. And if I look up in here, the width of that skull piece is the same as this wood. So what I have done is taken a pair of calipers, measured a width, and transferred that over to here. And I'm going to use just some different things with curves on it to create a nice curve here for our bracket. So we'll go ahead and cut that out. So to get my angle, I'm going to be cutting about 1/8 of an inch off the left side. Okay, I think that's a pretty good match. That'll give us an area to put screws into. This will be where the screw goes up into the skull, and for a screw with a head, I'm first going to drill a short pilot hole for the head, and that'll get plugged. And this is really hard wood, so it's going to take a while to go through. I'll switch to a smaller drill to finish. It's a piece of double stick tape, double-sided. I'll put this on here and attach this. With a double-sided sticky tape, I'm going to put this on as a guide, and this will sit here for drilling. What I'm trying to do is get a mark here so that I know where to drill. And there's my spot. So if I kind of know what angle my drill is at, just for comparison, I wanted to show you the 2005 skull and the 2003 skull that has not gone through a bleaching process. I'm going to use some hydrogen peroxide on this one in a little bit and see if we can whiten it up. For now, we're going to work on the mount. Okay, I've got a little picture hanger frame here I'm going to be using. Sometimes I just route a slot in there. This is pretty hard wood, so let's see how this works. So I have a pre-drilled hole for this bracket, so I can stick my screw in there and align that with the hole. And we'll see how this fits without having to glue anything. I think one of the important things to note is that when you're drilling your pilot hole in the skull, make sure your bit is not too small, because putting the screw in there could crack the bone. So just gently tighten that if you're going to try to do something like that. So that looks pretty good, and you can see just how much of that screw came through there. Now we're going to put it on our plaque. So I marked the center of this plaque. I'm going to put a piece of wood on here to mark the centers. And just add another piece of tape here. That way I know my bracket will go here. I can adjust this up and down to where I like it. And I'll figure that out before I drill pilot holes. Okay, I've decided this is the angle I like. So what I'm going to do, put a mark here, and probably a mark right here for our screw holes. First, I'm going to drill a pilot hole for one screw. Okay, I got my screw sticking out. I could screw this in by hand. Once I get this lined up here, I can drill my second hole. Okay, I'm ready to reassemble. Get some screws started here. The last thing I need to do is put this little button in the hole. Well, that's going to wrap up this video from the shop. If you've enjoyed it or learned something, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. I know I learned a few things, especially using the pressure washer. It's really easy to damage the sinus cavities. And when you're gluing these parts back on, if you have to do that, make sure you get them lined up. Well, I appreciate you stopping by the channel. I hope to catch you on the next one. Until then, take care.